Let's come back. Let's come back. So as I hear people getting silent means that we are done. Let's come back. Let's come back. So I hope that has helped liven up the mood. I hope that has helped liven up the mood and have everyone feel at home. And at least you have known one or two people. And after this, I think at the end we'll also have an opportunity where you'll have to interact, get to know more people as we do that over dinner. So I'd want to acknowledge the presence of our chief guest, Mr. Shem Nyakutu, all invited guests, all our government partners, all other partners, and everyone here, all protocols observed. Karibuni sana to this event. Save the Children launching its CSP, that's a country strategic plan for both Kenya and Madagascar. And this is really, really a great event. It's really important to save the children. And we thought of this activity, we've been thinking about it, and we've invited all our friends, all the people that we work with, to bring them here so that we can do this together, because you are part of what you're doing. You are part of what we are doing, bringing change to the children of this country, both Kenya and in Madagascar. So feel welcome. Karibuni sana. So at this particular point, we're going to watch a video called The Voices of Children. So I hope that is ready. As I get ready, there's a very important piece of information that I was told not to forget, and I was reminded. So Save the Children is also big on social media. So currently this event is live streaming on our YouTube page, that's Save the Children Kenya. Then I was told to ask all of us, if you are able to do that, hashtag for the event, that is hashtag Kenya Madagascar, CSP tag. We are also on Twitter, @Kenya, @SaveChildren_KE, Facebook page, Save the Children International Kenya, Instagram, @SaveTheChildren_Kenya. I am sure all of us, at least you have an account in any one of those. So do follow us, do hashtag, and do share for this event so that as many people can be able to be part of it. So the video is ready. You can start when you are.
The problem that are rising from the world right now is the drought, famine.
It's really affecting us. It's affecting all of us, and probably us the most because we are children and this is our future that is at risk.
Mifugo yote karibu wote wamekufa au wanaishi tu bila kitu hapa.
Tunaenda shuleni siku zingine bila kukula kitu chochote. Kwa sababu hatuwezi bata, hapa ni ukame, hatuwezi tafuta na shambani, tuko na hiyo ukame.
The drought here has affected my education in very many ways. That is, number one, it has prevented, or rather, it has caused the shortage of water, which at some point leads to difficulties in learning. So it has also affected some areas in studies, like the practical areas in, for example, in subject like agriculture. We've lacked ways on how to do the practical learning due to lack of rain. It has been caused by the drought.
Mara kwa mara hatuwezi pata chakula kila siku. Singine tunaenda shule bila kula kitu.
Shida ya kwanza kuna ukame. Sisi tunaenda hapa shule na shule yetu hakuna mwalimu. Walimu wote walikataa hapa kwa ajili ya bila maji. Tena tunaosha uniform by week one day. Siku moja tu ndio tunaosha Monday. Hiyo siku nyingine hatuwezi pata maji. Tulitafuta mwalimu mwingine. Tunalipa pesa kidogo. Hiyo pesa kidogo sisi hatuwezi tulipa kwa sababu mfugo yetu wote ndio walikufa ukame.
I can clearly see that these people are depending on animal to carry out their day-to-day basis, their day-to-day activities. So, for me, I think if the animals that they are using have died, then automatically the next one to die will be the humans self. So, bringing an extinction of human life.
The government must protect us because they are future generation, and the other thing that government should do is to ensure us that we are in a school, and all children at this area, they must be in school, because of some are getting lack of money. You know, some schools are they take a fee, and some of people can't afford that fees, and government must see us in a eye that they can protect us from that, and also they can protect our girls from gender-based violence that they're taking as FGM. Yeah.
I've got responsibilities to the world. I'm a savior. I can save the world through coming up with ways on how to curb drought.
I'm so happy that you are reaching out to all the children all over the world, and you are trying to actually help them in the adverse conditions they are in right now. Most children are facing problems that they shouldn't be facing, like famine and drought, and you are actually there standing by them and helping them and saving their lives. So thank you.
I'm happy because you are educating us, and we are feeding us and the society eyesight. Yeah, you are educating us, and inshallah after this session we're gonna spread it to the society, and also tell them about how children are supposed to be, and how they're supposed to be protected.
I'm interested in joining the Save the Children because there's a lot of things they have taught us on helping the children, educating them on some things which they don't know back in our village.
Educating the children, they are the voice of the children who are not having the opportunity to speak directly to the government. It's like they are linking us and the government. So I want to really appreciate the Saving Children.
I am so happy and grateful to Save the Children. You have come here and you have educated us and you have informed us of all the things that are affecting us. I am thankful now that I have learned so much. Rest assured that I'm going to go and teach others.
Thank you so much, Save the Children.
Thank you. They say that a single picture speaks how many words? 1,000. What about a video? A lot, eh? I hope that drives the message home and you keep us reflecting on that. At this point, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our country director, Yvonne, to open for us or do our opening remarks. Karibu.
Yes, indeed, they say a picture speaks 1,000 words. I think a video speaks even more. For me, having just looked at that video, it brings home why it is Save the Children, together with partners, are so committed to the work that we do in Kenya. All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I want to sincerely thank you for honoring this invitation to join us for this very auspicious occasion, the launch of our strategic plan 2022 to 2023 for Kenya and Madagascar. Indeed, it's a great moment for us at Save the Children. I want to take a pause and ask you to all take a pause and think back to 1953. That's when Save the Children established its presence in Kenya. If you had been born in that year, you'd have been almost 70 this year. Just think about it. A child born then would be 70 years old. And you can imagine the founders of the very first office were probably thinking that the intractable problems that they were trying to solve would be a thing of the past 70 years on. Alas, they're not. We're still grappling with things that we shouldn't be grappling with. Children dying or, standing a very high risk of death the moment they're born. Children not eating and having to worry about will they have food when they go to school. So those are still the challenges that we still have. Of course, progress has been made, but there's still lots of miles to go. I want you to also imagine a world in which you haven't been born. I'm challenging you now to think forward. Imagine you're in the womb of your mother. And those few minutes before you're born, you're told to imagine the world in which you want to be born into. What kind of world do you want to be? That to be? You have no idea what part of the world you'll be born. You don't know whether it will be in Ukraine or in Africa. You don't know whether it will be in Papua New Guinea or in DRC or Somalia. You don't know whether it will be in Yemen or Afghanistan or Syria. It could very well be America, who knows, or the UK or Sweden. You don't know. You don't know what gender you will be. You don't know whether you will be male or female. You don't know whether you'll be abled or disabled. You don't know whether you'll be born into a moneyed family or a non-moneyed family, right? So you don't know what class of the society that you're born into you will be. So it's a blank slate. Now, not knowing that, what kind of a world would you want to be born into? And if all of us, thought through that, the kinds of things that Save the Children is wanting to put in place together with other partners and governments, there would be a given. Because not knowing that, you'd want the best possible chance for that child, you, who's being born into that world. You'd want to be born in the off chance that you're born at 28 weeks and not 38 weeks, that you stand the greatest chance of survival. No. You'd want in the off chance that you're born for your mother and yourself to have the best care that you can get. So you'd want to survive. Not so. You'd want to be afforded the nutrition that ensures that when you get it, you reach your physical and cognitive potential. So you don't want to be born in a world where nutrition is a challenge and you're wondering, what am I going to, your mother is wondering, what am I going to feed this baby? And by the time you're 5, because you're so malnourished, your potential is capped. You want to access education. You want to go to school, but also have that school well-equipped and the teachers well-trained so that when you go to school, you're actually learning. It's not just about numbers, but it's about quality of education. You want to feel protected. You want to be assured that in the home environment, you're free from violence, and in school and community at large, you are safe. And you're not feeling vulnerable simply because you're under the age of 18 or because you're a girl. You want to be assured as a girl child that you'll not be married off before your time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you can all agree with me that that's the world that you'd want to be born into. And that's what we are all about. In 2016, Save the Children agreed to a 15-year global ambition in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. And we delineated 3 breakthroughs for children for us to get to this by the year 2030. Survival, no child dies of preventable causes before their 5th birthday. Learn, all children learn from a quality basic education. And be protected. Violence against children is no longer tolerated. In executing these breakthroughs, we have agreed to put the rights of the most deprived and marginalized children first, and to advocate for others to do the same. Distinguished guests, our 2022-2024 country strategic plan builds on our strengths and successes from previous 3-year strategic periods, whilst also stretching us to grow. It defines what we want the world to look like for children by 2024 and how we are going to help make that happen. We want to increase our impact for children faster and on a larger scale than ever before. And there's no reason that can't happen. We're living in a world where, because of digital and other innovations, there's no reason why we shouldn't be increasing our impact for children. Our strategy is ambitious and transformative, and it focuses on 4 strategic goals. So the first goal is that children under 5 thrive. The second is improved well-being for youth and adolescents, girls and boys in Kenya. The youth in Kenya actually comprise more than 50% of the population, so that's a key constituent for us. The third is that we have strengthened child-sensitive, shock-responsive social protection systems for vulnerable communities. The fourth is access to safe and quality education. So, ladies and gentlemen, our vision is to see more children survive, enjoy protection, for them to develop and participate. Currently, we are losing too many babies at birth in the initial years. The neonatal mortality rate in Kenya stands at 22 births for every 1,000 babies born, accounting for 42% of under 5 mortality and 59% of all infant mortality. 26% of children under 5 are stunted. Just think about that. 1 in 4 children in Kenya, that's 25%, are stunted. And like I mentioned before, once children are stunted, that means they will never reach 100% of their potential. So can you imagine, if we're thinking as Kenyan citizens, if a quarter of our generation already have a handicap, that's a key disadvantage to us as a country. The leading causes of under 5 morbidity and mortality are pneumonia, diarrhea, malaria, with malnutrition as an underlying factor. In other parts of the world, this is unheard of. It's actually been, it's not even something, that they would be thinking about. This is very, very preventable. We should be there as well. When it comes to education, we all know that disadvantage creates further disadvantage, and the cycle continues. Think about that 15-year-old or 13-year-old mother. Her reproductive life from 13 to 40, how many children is she likely to have? 8, 9, 10. What's likely to be the nutritional status of her children? Quite subpar. Is she able to help her children with homework as she would if she would have reached, high school? Probably not. So she is already disadvantaged, poor 13, 15-year-old mother, and so too are her children. And the cycle goes on. Research shows that children from low socioeconomic backgrounds, they're least likely to have engaged in early childhood education in the first 1,000 days. That's the first 3 years of a baby's life. Those first years where their brains are so like a sponge. A child of 2 years can learn a language in 2 months when they move to a new country or location. It will take their parents years to learn that new language. So their potential at that age is so much, yet if you come from a poor background, you do not get as much stimulation to take advantage of that. They are least likely to have engaged in pre-kindergarten programs. A child from a disadvantaged country is most likely to start school developmentally behind and stay behind. They probably are starting school at the age of 7, while some of their advantaged peers started school at 2.5, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we also note that many children are still growing up in poverty, affecting their ability to learn, survive, and to be protected. Internationally, hundreds of millions of families have been pushed over the brink of poverty since the start of the pandemic, as parents lost work, impacting children's access to healthcare, education, food, and housing. We have not been spared. Inadequate access to climate resilience capabilities remains a key barrier among the most vulnerable households in Kenya and Madagascar, who suffer from the impact of climate change and poverty. Furthermore, as our children grow into youth, they're hit by realities on the ground, like unemployment. Guests, the strategic plan we are launching today has pushed us to ask ourselves, how can we do things better to create better impact for children? Noting the high rates of technological advancements globally, we cannot afford to be left behind. In the next 3 years, we will seek to use digital innovations within our programming to drive greater impact for children. It's also key that our interventions are driven through cohesion by working side by side with children, young families, communities, staff, volunteers, supporters, partners, and the government. Indeed, our ambition for children is massive. Some would say impossible, but is it? Is it impossible? However, as our founder, Eglantin Jeb, said, it's impossible only if we make it so. It's impossible only if we refuse to attempt it. Our 2022-24 strategy is our best attempt to make it possible. We do hope that you'll help us make our ambitious strategy a reality for children. So think back 70 years from now. Will our children, our grandchildren, still be meeting, talking about how to make it possible for children to not go to bed hungry? Well, we certainly hope not. Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate Yvonne for those wonderful words that she's made. Let's appreciate her as she comes down. I think if I forget anything, I will not forget the words that she has said, that it is impossible if we do what? Exactly. It is possible if we put our heads together and our efforts together to do it. It's not impossible. But if we want to make it impossible, we can make it impossible. But I'm sure all of us are here seated today because we believe and we know it is possible to make it, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to let another video play. As we said, a photo is worth 1,000 words. What about a video? I'm sure it is worth much, much more.
Napenda kucheza football na kuendesha taya. Nikiwa mkubwa na kuendesha gari. Napenda kusoma. Nikiwa mkubwa nitakuwa mwanajeshi. Nataka kuwa mwanajeshi ndio nilinde nchi yangu.
Save the Children's Country Strategic Plan 2022-2024 seeks to build from the strengths and successes of the previous 3-year strategy while stretching to increase the impact for children and deliver at scale in a rapidly changing socio-economic context.
We want our children, when they're born, to stand the greatest chance of survival, currently we're losing too many babies at birth and those initial years. We want our children to have adequate nutrition for them to reach their physical and cognitive potential. The areas where we work in Kenya and Madagascar, some of them have a lot of marginalization, so access to healthcare and education is not always a given. We want to be in a place where when shocks happen, and they do happen in those kinds of areas, you know, a drought, a cyclone, that these children, together with their families, don't fall further behind, that there are safety nets that ensure that there's some care and services that are still being provided to them, irrespective of the shocks that have happened.
As a movement, we have a broader frame that we call Ambition 2030. And Ambition 2030 is our global strategy towards achieving outcomes or breakthroughs for children. And we have three critical areas that we're looking at. We have an ambition that by 2030, all children will survive. We have an ambition that all children will be protected from violence and that children will be able to learn. And so our 3-year plans or strategic plans are just in a way trying to break down the broader global strategy and to ensure that we are always aligned and in tune with what is happening within the context, but more so being able to adopt or pick learnings from the shorter term plans that we have and then infuse it in the other plans that we do have.
Even with the rapid change in the way we approach situations due to COVID-19 and drought that has been experienced, the success of the previous 3 years could not be pushed aside as the interventions from various projects uplifted the communities that we engaged with.
We were able to reach about 1 million people directly. So when I say directly, that means in terms of the services that we offer directly to children and adults in the communities where we work, and then about 6 million of them indirectly with our services. And then out of those that we reached, 2 out of 3 of them were children below 18 years of age, and then half of those that we reached were actually girls who were below 18 years of age. About half of the 1 million were reached through our humanitarian and emergency programs.
The children walikuja wakatufunza kupika. Tulifunzwa kupika uji, samaki na mchele, ugali, dengu, spinach.
Loo sadka imaatay iskuulkeen dib ugu noqdeen. Hadda waxaan dareemaynaa farxadaan dareemaynaa. Waxaan jeclaan lahayn inay noo sii wadaan jeclaan lahayn.
Ngaragna tangaro piano. Ber down ni lagje yakpan. Kariye be share lag yakpan. Ifanyo. Iboro dai, agelang kwala dai. Ya kana nam dai geliya be share lag yakpan. Fanya boche be share ngolo. Iya pai dalu celai pai dikagina lu jami. Cakro bocha pakana kwarne pantang tiang. Tari tala madar kono.
In building towards the next 3 years, Save the Children has undertaken to focus on 4 goals. These are thriving of children under 5 years, improved well-being for youth and adolescent girls and boys, strengthened child-sensitive, shock-responsive social protection systems for vulnerable communities, and access to safe and quality education. In light of these goals, and through evidence and changes in the environment witnessed over the past 3 years, the organization believes that this will be a positive direction in achieving the 15-year global ambition in line with the Sustainable Development Goals.
We're working in areas where children are most deprived in Kenya. So we have retained the counties of Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Turkana, Samburu. We also have counties where even if the deprivation is not very high, the disease burden is quite high, such as Bungoma and Busia, Kakamega and Kisumu, and then also in the urban slums of Nairobi and also in Kitui.
What we've been doing, a lot of it has been focusing on ECD learners and refugee education in Dadaab. So when we look at ECD, a lot of focus, and this of course is informed by the funding that we have received. A lot of our program has been in Turkana and in the informal settlement here in Nairobi. And then when we look at the refugee programming, the focus has been on accelerated education within the refugee space, and at most, a lot of our education programs have been integrating child protection.
The 3-year strategic plan will also put emphasis on child-sensitive, shock-responsive, social protection systems for vulnerable communities in line with various social political changes.
The previous framework, or the current framework, was a stepping stone, but we're looking at expanding it further and make sure that we reach more children, more communities, and also expanding further in terms of the interventions we're going to provide to the communities. So we are not looking at just one intervention, so we're looking at sort of integrating all our interventions at the communities. So by integrating other, for example, other sectors, for example, within the child poverty, we don't work in isolation, so we work with several other sectors like wash, nutrition, health. So by virtue of that, then we're able to expand and provide that holistic support to all the vulnerable communities.
Kwa roho yangu nilikuwa natamani sana kuwa fundi, lakini sikuwa na hiyo opportunity kwa maana sikuwa na pesa za kwenda course ni train ufundi. So nilipopata na Save the Children wakanichukua wakanitrain. Saa hizi mimi ni fundi. Yale mambo nilikuwa nahitaji kwa maisha yangu naona nimeanza kuyapata.
The role of the program development quality team could not be understated, as these form the basis of the 3-year plan for the organization.
The role of PDQ, because this is where technical expertise sits, is to really do a lot of analysis and have an understanding of what the situation is and what the practices or the best practices are in the sector. So for instance, we do program in humanitarian, and part of the humanitarian work we do is cash transfers. So it is our responsibility as PDQ to understand what the standards are within cash transfer programming, what lessons we are learning from our actual implementation right now, how we can bring that to scale, and most importantly, how we ensuring that there's impact to the last mile, and last mile here is the very last child that needs our support.
It is really key that interventions that we are implementing are driven from the community level. The community, they know the issues that impact them. They know the problems that, they face. We want to work with them in crafting long-term developmental solutions to these problems. But we want them to also lead from the front.
Wow. You can clap. In a very summarized way, that's the kind of impact we are making in the communities. Let me tell you just a small thing or a small story. Today, maybe it's not a story, but today we were somewhere in a session and we were closing out a project. And we had one of our beneficiaries, we had invited them. I've seen him there. He's a beautician. We trained him through the EBT program. Now he's employed. Actually, he tutors in 2 colleges. And this is somebody who was somewhere in Siaya, didn't have anything to do, came to Nairobi, was working in a construction site, kazi ya mjengo. We took him through the program. Now he tutors in 2 colleges. He used to live in Mathare. He now lives in Umoja. And really, as I sat and listened to that young man, it really dawned on me that that's the kind of impact we are looking at. And I really felt that more needs to be done, because you can imagine if that young man is impacted, if he has a family, then the kids are also impacted. And that is the kind of impact we also want to see in the coming 3 years. So are we all together committing to do this? I can see by the nod of our heads, we are willing to do this, and I know we will do it. So I want to invite our next speaker, Abdullahi Sheikh, who is the head of programs at WARDA. As he comes, and as he walks to the stage, I'm still reminded to remind us of our live streaming on YouTube, Save the Children Kenya, hashtag for the event, hash at Kenya Madagascar, CSP tag, Twitter at SaveChildren_KE, Facebook, Save the Children International Kenya, and Instagram at SaveTheChildren_Kenya. Karibu. So there is a presentation that is it a video? Okay, it's up. Karibu, let's appreciate Abdullahi as he comes.
Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good evening. As mentioned, my name is Abdullahi Mohammed. I work with WARDA. WARDA stands for Warsaw Resource Development Agency, an organization based in Wajir, and we are partnering with Save the Children on a number of projects. So basically I'll take you through a few slides on the current situation of droughts in Wajir, and then so that we appreciate what we are doing together with Save the Children. So the first slide is just about ourselves as WARDA, who we are. Registered in Kenya 2011. Those of you who work in the humanitarian sector, you know what happened in 2011. 2011 was the height of drought in the East African region, particularly the Horn of Africa. We had a huge influx of refugees from Somalia. Those of us working in Dadaab know that there were people crossing, thousands of people are crossing across the border to Kenya, and this organization was formed at the height of that drought situation. So currently we have partnership not just with Save the Children, we have with IOM, UNICEF. We also have project funded by the World Bank through the government of Kenya, and we're also partnering with them in Wajir. As mentioned, I have around 61 staff currently working for the program in different sectors of health, nutrition, wash, livelihood, education. Next slide. So currently Wajir stands at, in terms of drought, we are at alarm stage. And the current situation is, actually we are at the edge of an emergency. We're just at the edge of an emergency. So if this, and as you know, the next rain is expected in October, November, December. So the situation is, the trend is towards a worsening situation. So in the next few months, if we are not able to intervene and make programs, then we are likely to lose lives. But hopefully that will not happen because we have a number of partners working in the area. So the current problem is the water stress and also the issue of which affects the entire family, including school children. In our communities, it's the children who fetch water and the women. So when there's water shortage, what happens? The time of going to school is not even there because the child has to go and fetch water for the family because water is life. So they end up losing schools. Schools even close. Sometimes even schools close because of the shortage of water. So currently, as you can see, the successive failure of rains over the past 3 years is what has put us in the current situation. But hopefully, as it reaches towards the end of the year, and if there is enough rain, then this situation will improve, hopefully. But as it is now, we are in a very, at the edge of an emergency situation. Next, please. Next slide. So we are in IPC phase 3. That means we are just on the edge of an emergency. That means the drought can turn into a famine if the situation continues to worsen. And as you can see, we have around half of the population of the county that's in need of food aid, that are actually food insecure. Please proceed. As the nutritional status of children particularly is really dire. It's above the acceptable threshold, as which we will show you. You look at that, the gum rates and the SAM are actually much higher than the emergency, than the threshold, the acceptable threshold. Continue, please. So if you look at this, the green line shows the acceptable threshold for the gum level. That is, and then we are way above. That's where Wajir is way above the emergency threshold. So that means a lot of children are malnourished, and we have a number of interventions which we'll mention. Please proceed. So a few challenges here and there which we'll mention, which I've already mentioned: the high gum rate, the poor dietary diversity, particularly among the pastoral communities, the poor sanitation and hygiene as a result of the water stress or the water shortages, and the low coverage on family work. And finally, there is a conflict which actually the drought triggers conflict, in that when the resources are scarce, then people tend to fight over it, and it causes conflict. Recently, we had a conflict along the Wajir-Isiolo border, and it's all related to this stress because of the limited resources, especially water and livestock pasture, that is really triggering this. These are some of our interventions in Wajir. As you can see, hygiene promotion action days with support of the BHA through Save the Children. These are some of the activities we are currently doing in Wajir North and Wajir West and Eldas sub-counties. Please proceed. So finally, I want to tell you that rivers do not drink their own water, trees don't eat their own fruit, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. So we are here in Radisson Blue not because of Save the Children, but for others. So I tell you, please, let's stand up for those who are under stress and help them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullahi. Let's appreciate him as he sits down. That quote is so true, isn't it? I hope we reflect on that. I want to welcome a second gentleman by the name Abdullahi Abdi, who is Executive Director for Wokike, to come on stage. Let's appreciate him as he comes. Are we tired? What have we sat for long? We want to stand a bit. Let's appreciate him.
All protocol observed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that, you have to adjust it because of the height. It is abnormally tall. And in our saying, we usually say that if those who are experts in talk in front of you or before you, then they finish the words. So I think Arunga and Abdullahi have concluded the whole story. My name is Abdullahi Mohammed Abdi. I work with Womankind Kenya. Womankind Kenya is a local organization initially founded in 1989 as a welfare organization, but later registered in 1995 as a non-governmental organization. The organization particularly, sorry, I'm having a bit of a challenge with this. The organization particularly targets women and children, the most vulnerable members of the society. The founder members were purely women, and this was based on the gender disparities that existed in the mid-90s. For those of you who are in the humanitarian sector will clearly remember in the mid-90s and early 90s, that is when we had the worst drought in the region. At the same time, it was the fall of the Somali government, and we had a very big numbers of people coming to Kenya in form of refugees, asylum seekers, and later on decided to proceed to other countries. But up to now, we are hosting 30 years down the line. Its founded vision is a just society that's self-reliant. This was to improve the living standards of the vulnerable members of the society by supporting the most affected, that's women and children, to demand for their rights from service providers, as well as also take control of their lives. Unfortunately, I think affected a tall person here. Is it proper if I hold by the hand? Okay, thank you. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. As our programmatic approach is usually in the center is a community, and we are looking at a number of thematic areas to try and achieve the vision that we have mentioned in our first slides. And our key element is women empowerment and just governance, which contribute to women participation in leadership as well as also decision-making processes. Number two, which is child protection and education, is one of our key elements, making sure that we try to support our communities and beneficiaries to have children in schools, that is on enrollment, having them in school for retention, and also making sure that a good number of them complete. Climate change, which is part of the thing that is affecting us now, and that has brought this major drought and emergency, and resilience building is one of our key elements that we try to support and intervene. Conflict is a major issue in our region. For quite some time, it used to be resource-based conflict. And for that matter, whenever drought comes, because of the little resource that we have, especially water and pasture, there is an exacerbation of conflict. As it was mentioned by the earlier speaker, currently there is an active conflict in Garissa-Isiolo border. A big number of the people who live in Garissa found themselves in Isiolo for one reason or another, especially in search of water and pastures, and in the process had some issues with the communities along there. In addition to our normal programs, we have number 6 as an emergency response and humanitarian aid, and also we have a girls rescue center called Mulkhair in Garissa. Next. Our drought situation, according to, especially in Kenya, we rely on NDMA data, but also other agencies also collect data. We are on alarm stage in most of the parts, and the drought is affecting almost all the counties. That is Mandera, Marsabit, Wajir, Laikipia, Turkana, Garissa, among others. This is attributed to poor performance of the last 4 seasons of rains. For those who might not know, there are short rains and long rains in a year. So that means there are 2 seasons in a year. 4 seasons of the rains failed, and the 5th, which is the short rains, which is expected to at the end of the year, is also expected to perform below the average. And for that reason, the drought situation is getting worse and worse. Next. Our livestock production and mortality, I think this one has been captured earlier. The linkage that I think most of the members need to understand is that whenever we have what do we call underperformance of the rains, then that leads to limited or scarcity of water. That also leads to limited pasture, and that leads to the poor condition of the animals, which further leads to production of the animals going down in form of milk and meat, and that leads to hunger and starvation and further to malnutrition. And when we find the kids MWAC level more than 10%, 11%, 15%, then it's because of that poor condition of the animals that fail to produce the milk that is supposed to have been used to feed the kids or even to sell, and such that you get an alternative food for the children. Vegetation is also having its own challenges. Next. Water access is a major issue. The distance for the animals trekking to the water point and for pasture point is more than, I think, about 25 kilometers. And it is going worse. Now it might lead to a situation where the family and the animals will be living in different places, leading to further lack of animal products in the household and further starvation and malnutrition. Next. Health is the same. I think the emergency issues. The emerging issue currently that I mentioned earlier on is a conflict, the human displacement that is happening. And this is, I mentioned about the Garissa Isiolo, which is on the area of Madagascar and Banane, that we are having the biggest challenge currently of insecurity. Whenever we have a lack of pasture and water, communities and animals will always move to the next place that they feel there is pasture and water. And for that reason, quite a number of our people cross to other borders, Isiolo, to international borders, to Somalia, and to Lamu and parts of Wajir, which is also facing the similar problem. The current challenge is that thousands of our children are leaving their homes in search of water, food, and pasture. The linkage between children going for water in search of water and the education is that most of them will be dropping out of school, leading further to children out of school, increasing the number of children out of school, and also reducing completion and retention rates in our schools. Malnutrition for the children and pregnant mothers have also increased due to this lack of water and pastures. There's minimal forage also for the animals, water shortage due to dependency on water pans and underground. This lack of water also lead to overuse of the boreholes, which used to work for about 8 to 12 hours. Now they are forced to operate for about 24 hours, limiting the chance of recharging the water. And for that matter, it leads to what do you call mechanical issues and further problems. So the lack of rains and pasture has its own multiplier effect, not only the one that on the eyes. Next. The impact of the COVID, I think this one everybody knows it. The COVID was a major issue, and now the multiple emergency situations the region has faced for the last 2 years. Part of it was the what do you call it, the COVID. There was a locust, for those of you who don't remember, which has also had a very major impact on our pastures. There was also some bit of flooding and droughts at multiple stages. There was that 4 major issues that affected the region at the same time. Next. So the current interventions which are ongoing is that there are a number of interventions, although not reaching most of the people. Womankind Kenya is currently in partnership with Save the Children through the support of PHA, USAID, that is doing some community outreach programs, wash programs, household hygiene promotions, among others. So other than Save the Children, Womankind, there are also others who are working across the region. WARDA is in Wajir together with other agencies. In Garissa, there is Womankind Save the Children, for now doing different parts of the counties. There are 13 sub-counties in Garissa County, and for now I think we are covering about 4 or 5 sub-counties. So there is a major gap still existing in the interventions that is required in the region. Continue. There's still part of the interventions that is on livestock interventions. There is animal production. There is food aid, which is ongoing in part of Garissa and part of Wajir also. There is a distribution of farm inputs, which is also being done as part of the interventions we're having with Save the Children through the support of PHA. There are cash transfers also going on in a number of areas, but the numbers are still limited. Next. The call to action is that there is still high need for health interventions, livelihood interventions, educational interventions, and water interventions. There is a scale-up requirement for water tracking. There are a big number of areas that still lack water. Boreholes, servicing, and also maintenance is a key issue, in addition to also provision of water tanks for the areas that require water tracking. Rehabilitation of the water points is also a major issue. Supply of animal feeds are also major issues that we are looking at. Next. So with that few remarks, when you decide to support a child, you are supporting the future generation of this world. And put yourself in a situation where you are a mother at the age of 35 years, having about 10 children, because you started producing at the age of 18. And the oldest is around 12 years and the youngest is 6 months. You have to trek for 25 kilometers in search of water for that family. And by the time you come back, you don't know where to get the next meal. All those children waiting for you. The father have gone with the 6 cows that have remained. He's not there to support you. Those are some of the challenges that you find in the field. And it's always good to think about that team as we enjoy our meals in these big institutions and big houses that we are going to sleep on a king bed. Remember that young girl at the age of 35 with the 10 children that treks for 25 kilometers in search of water and has no next meal anywhere nearby. Thank you very much for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Abdi. Let's appreciate Mr. Abdi as he comes down. So Warda and Wakike are some of the two partners that we partner with in the northern part of this country to do the work that we are doing. And I think from the two presentations, they really paint a picture of what we have to face and what we have to deal with. Are we still in this together? Can I see by us nodding? Thank you. Something was to be presented there. I'm not sure whether it's still coming on. So as we wait for that, are we progressing well? Are we tired? Can I request us to stand? Can I request us to shake a bit and move a bit? You can shake your leg, move a bit. I think we've been sitting and listening as we absorb and internalize all this information that you are getting. Are you feeling better now? We can sit? Okay, so at this point I want to, all right, there it is. Somebody realized I was struggling to the hashtags and all the underscores. So there we have the information. You can take a picture of that if you wish. Make sure to share that, retweet. You know those jargons we use in social media? Invite your friends to visit those pages so that they can see the work that we are doing. So I want to usher us into a next phase. And this is at a point where I want to welcome our keynote address. Help me in welcoming Helen Avisa, the Deputy Director in the Directorate of Field Coordination and Co-Curricular Activities. Can you welcome Helen as she comes on stage? Once Helen is done, she will help us to invite our guest speaker, and I think she can speak into more who our guest speaker is, and she will take the opportunity to welcome him to come on stage and address us. Karibu.
Thank you. All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, Good evening. Am I audible enough? You know, I'm just trying to moderate myself because I have a very loud voice. And so I want to be a bit moderate. So before I even say anything, I want to take this opportunity first I'm here with my director. I'm a deputy director, and I have my director here. And the government protocol demands that when my senior is here, I have to invite my senior just to greet you, and then he will give me a go-ahead to continue with this. Welcome, Director.
Thank you, the Deputy Director, Madam Helen Alvisha. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening once again. I'm not giving a speech. I want to usher in the speaker from the Ministry of Education. My name is Alfred Gari Moriasi. Alfred Gari Moriasi is the Director in charge of ECD in the Ministry, Early Childhood Education. First and foremost, allow me to salute Madam Yvonne Arunga, the Country Director, Save the Children. I've known a few of you. If I've known you, kindly accept me to appreciate Madam Patricia from Save the Children. If I'm not wrong, that is Planning, Development and Quality Director from Save the Children. Allow me to salute Dr. Mwoma, ECD Network for Kenya, that is the Acting Executive Director. Please salute us from where you are. That is the Acting Director, ECD Network for Kenya, if I'm not wrong. Allow me to salute all of you this evening. From the Ministry of Education, we are 4 in number, and we are present. I want to my presence here, the presence of the Ministry of Education officials, is a clear sign of the government support to you, that is Save the Children, Kenya and Madagascar. We are ready to work with you, we shall partner with you, and we shall continue giving you our support. We want to appreciate that you have brought all these stakeholders on board during this great day of launching your strategic plan 2022-2024. We hope all of us will support the strategic plan for the success of Save the Children. Allow me also to salute the secretary, my friend who is the guest, the chief speaker of the day. I'll get to know your name later. And that is Shem Nyakutu, Secretary of Children Services, Director of Children Services. Kindly feel most welcome. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You know, from the program, we have 20 minutes as Minister of Education. Allow us now, through the Deputy Director, to speak to you. Asante sana.
Okay, thank you, Bwana Director. Thank you very much. I think all the speakers who have stood here, they have talked a lot, and what they've talked about is also what I have. And instead of repeating, I will only speak something they have not spoken much. And first I'll want that logo of Save the Children just to be put here, this logo. I have something, the way I interpret it, I don't know that's what Save the Children meant, and that's why we are here. So I saw this logo. When you look at it, what does it tell us? Just that picture. What does it tell us? To me as a person, I look at a child who is endangered. And why do I say it's a child who is endangered? You see, first it's red. You know, when we see red, we know it's what? Danger. So when I look at it, I see a child who is endangered. And this child is not only just endangered, this child is endangered and is in a ring. In a ring, which means if that child is not removed from that red ring, which is danger, this child will remain endangered. But there is hope. The person who designed this, he gave some hope. And the hope is the ring is not complete. There is some space, showing that this child, if helped, this child will come out of this danger and will come out of this ring. And that's why we are here. I don't know whether that's what Save the Children meant, but that's what I see, how I can interpret it. So now, we are here because of the child. One thing, Save the Children has been here for very many years. We were given, it was here since 1953. And you know, Save the Children thought. You know, we gained independence when? In 1963. But it seems Save the Children was here earlier than we got independence. And you know, most of our children are actually endangered, and especially in this current era. When we look at the matters of children, which the director from Children's Services will agree with me, is that most of our children are currently in danger because of the way the world has changed so much. The emergencies have increased, and even children are more exposed to very many dangers from the time they are in their mother's wombs up to the time they are born, and as they grow up, most of them are endangered, and especially children from disadvantaged areas, that is mostly in Asal, where maybe they are struggling. Even right now, as there is a drought, there is a lot of struggle for children. Right now, majority are malnourished, and they are suffering. Even if you give them food, they will not consume the food. They have to be treated first. They have to be taken through a therapy before they can even eat. And that's where we are. And I was just wondering, yes, I'm in government, but at this time, we are still having such. What is going wrong? Where did we go wrong? Save the Children came in to show that when children are in danger, we need to save them from that. But as a government also, we are doing something, but are we doing enough? So we are here, all our partners, we are here. And if we do not prioritize the issues of children, then we are doomed as a country, because children are the future of this country. If we don't save the children, if we don't nurture them well, if we don't give them education, if we don't protect them from all the dangers that are facing them, then we are doomed. But I think we still have that small space that we need to come in and do something, and in a different way. We've been doing Save the Children. You've been here for 53 years. Kenya gained independence over 50 years ago. We are here, several partners. We are working, government is working, but still things are going wrong. When we look at our youth, most of them are lost in drugs, even as early as in primary school. Most of them, the girls and the boys, are engaged in irresponsible sexual activities. They are giving birth to more vulnerable children because them they require protection. But then they are giving birth to other children who require protection. The one who requires protection needs to give protection to the one whom she gives birth to or whom she sires. So we are, the numbers of the children in need of protection, support, education is even becoming larger. And I don't know whether our impact will be felt as we try to protect and give education to these children, or it will go out of our hands. We need to look at that. So as we are here, Save the Children is launching the 2022-2024 strategic plan. And they have outlined very well about what they are going to do for children under 5 and for the youth, the well-being of the youth, and then the social protection, and our department for children's department is here, and also access to quality education. We have free primary education and free day secondary education. However, the free is not very free, because there are other things which are required for a parent, for a community to do. But it's like when we came up with the free education, it's like we locked out the communities. And you know, from the time of independence, the communities were the ones which were building schools, and then the government was coming in to support, to give the teachers and the learning and teaching materials. But right now, because of the word free, I think the communities have misinterpreted it to show that if it's free, it's completely free. And then we've locked out those who can come in to help, because it's just free. I'm not saying the government has done it wrong, but we are in the process of making it completely free. But when we look in the nations which are actually offering free education, how far have they come? As we are still a long way to reach where we are. But then we need to empower or to sensitize our communities as we work with them to show that they have something to chip in to ensure their children get quality education. I'm not saying they pay levies, no, but the parents, those who are able, can come in and support the schools. But those who are not able, they need to be helped. They need to be supported for children to get this. So we are here, but we are still a long way to go. So how can we do things differently? So on my speech, I go back to my speech now. I would like to say that the constitution, you know, the government of Kenya has a constitution 2010, and this constitution, when we look at it, it provides for the right of every child to get to get education. And when we look at the Education Act, it guarantees the right of every child for free and compulsory basic education, which is there at primary level and the day secondary level. However, I've said it's not free because of what some people are coming up with, depending on where we are, and also how we interpret this issue of free education. So it is therefore the duty of every parent and every guardian to present a child to a school so that they can access this education. However, in some areas, they are not able to take their children to school. Why? Because of the condition or the way that area is, and they are not able, they are vulnerable families, or they are lacking certain things that they require for the children to go to school. The long distances given in our SAL condition, in our urban informal settlement, you know the stress that is there, the shocks that are there, that is barring some children from accessing this. Then it is the duty of the Ministry of Education to ensure that the school environment is learner-friendly and has minimal hazards. And when we say of minimal hazards, we look at our schools. Are they free from hazards? And if they are not free from hazards, what are we doing to ensure that children are in an environment which is learner-friendly and which is free from hazards? I really love or like our partners because they really support education to ensure that the school is child-friendly. We had a program which was spearheaded by UNICEF and even supported by Save the Children on child-friendly schools. It came, but then it appears we have forgotten about it, or enforcement of that policy, it's very weak. But every school must be child-friendly. But as I'm talking, some of our schools are not child-friendly. Then on that note, due to perennial disasters, we have perennial disasters like drought. And the two previous presenters before me, they have shown how the drought is ravaging in our 23 ASAL counties with 19 they are more affected. So the droughts are usually taking us back. We make strides, but the disasters take us back. But then, what should we do about them? The safety of the learners is very central. But due to these disasters or emergencies, you find most of our learners are not safe at all. And we need to do something about that. So when we look at the effect of COVID-19, I don't know whether it's over. I can see we are not wearing masks. Even I don't know whether COVID is over or it's still there. I came in with a mask, now I was forced to remove because nearly everybody did not have a mask. But you know, I was directly affected and I'm here by the grace of God. And this is very true. So that's why I still cling on the mask. But anyway, that's a story for another time. So COVID-19 disrupted over 18 million Kenyan learners at all levels. And we know when COVID struck, schools were closed abruptly and children went back home. And these children were faced by all sorts of challenges, especially the vulnerable ones. And they did not access education. You know, schools offer protection to children. But when children are out in the villages, within some of them, most of them, not really being guarded by the parents. Some of the parents are hustling or whatever, but during COVID time, many people were enclosed, but the children were out. Even where I was staying, we could stay in the houses, but you cannot confine the children. And our youth, even children and youth, some of them started engaging in other activities, and some of them have even dropped out. Some of them have gone back to school. Some of them were hit directly by COVID-19. They lost their loved ones. They saw COVID hit their families. Those whose livelihoods were cut off or jobs. Many of the children are suffering. I'm engaged in a research which is at the final stage. We have already done the research on the effect of COVID-19 on learners in primary and secondary schools in Kenya, and we did in 5 counties. And in these counties, Nairobi is one of them, and Migori, Kajiado, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Mombasa. And the COVID has really hit our learners in schools. They've been affected. We've only looked at, did they wash their hands, put on masks, or kept social distance, which was very challenging for our schools. But there are those who are hit directly. Their families lost their livelihoods. They were supposed to move from where they were staying to other places where they are uncomfortable. They had to leave some schools where their parents were affording to pay. They are in schools where they even feel they do not want their friends to know where they are, and it has really affected the children. The results will be out. We'll invite some of you when we are unveiling. It's a collaboration between the Ministry of Education and 7 universities and NATCOM and KICD. And even as we talk, children do not talk, but they are really affected. Now we are in the intervention stage, and the children who came out that they were affected, they are being taken through psychosocial, mental health and psychosocial support. So it affected children. KICD were actually providing lessons through radio, through the TV and whatever, but how many children accessed this? Majority did not access. Why? Because they did not have the gadgets, they could not access. And that's why when we resumed, we had to go back to where they started from. And when we went back there, the program became very tight, and the terms have been very short, and it has actually impacted negatively to very many children due to the tight situation. But others, they have managed to come out of it because they could access this education through other modes of learning, and through the accelerated, time, the short time, they have been able to catch up, and now they have not wasted much time because they have catch up and will go back to the normal situation will come back in 2023. The co-curricular activities, you know, children have to play. And when COVID hit, there was no play. And children were really affected. It has come out of that research. And you know, when a child does not play and is put down to learn, and learn, the children, most of them are also affected. And some, it's into the severe cases. So COVID has really affected learners. It has even affected teachers. It has affected parents. And it has affected all sectors of economy. And education, I can say education was the most affected. Why? Because education has all the future. The children are the future of a nation, and they were affected. And we do not know how much they were affected until we carry out a research on them. And that's what we need to do. We have partners here. I'm just calling upon you. Let us do proper research, proper assessments, even before we think about intervention. Because what comes out of research is actually what we'll do. But what we decide for children in boardrooms like this, sometimes it's not what they want. We are talking about children. We need the voices of the children in everything we do. And that is the work of Save the Children, which we really work with. During COVID-19, we had intervention. We were supported by Education Cannot Wait and Save the Children. I worked with Save the Children, and they did a wonderful job. And I wish if we work in collaboration with all other sectors whom we are actually working with, we are going to save the children from actually that red ring and that red attire. We have to save the children from this. Now, the effect of the current drought, it has been talked of, and we know they have talked of the areas which is affected, and I'm not going to go into that. We know the numbers. The numbers are like 755 children and 9,640 pregnant and lactating women require treatment for acute malnutrition. The government, through the Ministry of Health, I happen to be in the meeting, the government meeting, where we are doing that. Through the Ministry of Health is actually working on this. They are intervening, and that is ongoing, but we need the support of our partners, and Save the Children is supporting us and all other partners who are here, and we really appreciate that. And almost 1.13 million girls and boys in primary school aged to 6 to 13 years old are out of school in Kenya. And when we are dealing with those who are in school, we also have to look at those who are out of school. They either come back to school or get other alternative ways, but we need to contain them, because as we continue rearing or bringing up vulnerable children who are bringing up other vulnerable children, the situation can get out of hand, and we do not want that. As a government, we are concerned, and we are calling upon our partners to continue helping us in this, because we need to save the children. They are the future of this country. But sometimes I feel as grown-ups, we are so selfish. We are not involving the children in the plans we are doing, and we are not actually going at their level to find out what they really want and how they really want it. Then we guide them so that they do not get out. Most of our children are in drugs, both girls and boys. Most of the girls are getting pregnant by their fellow youth and by the adults who are selfish, and we need to get them out of that ring. How do we go about it? We need to come on table, plus those children, some of them, so that we see how we can help them. But it's a very tricky situation. Emergencies always exacerbate these issues. I handle education in emergencies. And when I go to these areas, the Northeastern, the Turkana, the Samburus, the Baringos, it is just pathetic for children. And many of them are missing out of school. The young ones cannot go to ECDs because of the distances, and also the protection of the parents where we have conflict and we find children are missing out. We really have a lot to do as the Ministry of Education, the Department of Children's Services, the partners who are working with us, the county government. We have a very big role to play to ensure that we protect the children and they get quality education. So the government priorities in responding to emergencies include promotion of policy enabling environment. Our government is good. We are here as partners because they are providing that policy enabling environment for us to work. Unless if there is a partner who is stopped from working, it means you are not going through government. Because for you to support the government, you have to work with the government. And it's only those who don't work with the government that find themselves in program. But those who are here, I know you are working with the government, and we really appreciate that. So also, provision of expanded school meals to most affected schools. It is in line. Last week we were just working on how those children, the children in schools should get more food. Most of them have food, but you know they have to share, even with their other children who are not in school, and even some community members who come. You know, a starving old lady or man cannot be denied in school. And you know, when meals are in school and there's drought, even the grown-ups go to school, and it's very difficult to deny them. So the meals do not go up to the end of the term. So we are working on that, but we need the support. But then, well, how do we have a lasting solution? And the only problem in ourselves is actually water. If they have water, I know they'll grow their own crops. I know their animals will not be in problems. So I think the most important thing we need to work on as a government, as partners, is to provide water to our communities and our schools. Because if they have the water, we will not have these problems we are having of drought. We need to learn. Those countries in desert, how did they reach where they are? So we start from there. We do not start from where they are now. We always do benchmarking, but we are doing benchmarking seeing what they are doing now. We do not see where they started from. We need to start from somewhere. We cannot start at where the developed countries are, maybe in deserts, where they are right now. They have come a long way. We cannot start from where they are now. We need to know where did they come from. We also start from there. But sometimes we make mistakes. But then it's a high time we changed the way we do things. Coordination of public-private partnership in response and recovery programs. You know, we coordinate partners and even the private sector when it comes to education. But then, how do we engage them? We need to work. Even we work government, Save the Children and others, because what Save the Children is doing, it cannot help Kenya alone. We need all to work together. The government, the national, the county government, Save the Children, all the partners, the public, private sectors. We need to work together so that we can save the country. And saving the country, we need to save the child. We are talking of climate change. This climate change, as grown-ups, we are already polluted. Even if we are told to do things a different way, we continue doing them the way we've been doing them. But I believe for us to change the issue of climate change, it should start with the children. When you teach a child to do this, the child will grow up doing that. But when we try to change the grown-ups, some of them will be changed. A few will be half changed, but majority will not change. It is very hard to change communities because people are already grown-ups and we are targeting them. Let's target the children. Let's start the change from schools. Greening of schools. When a child learns greening the environment in school, they will green at home. But what do they require? It's water and support on what they need to green with. So as we do this, as we say we do things the different way, let's change this country using the children, and that's how the country will change. Effective coordination of humanitarian response, including for those in child protection and EIE activities. We know about child protection, and Irene is doing a lot. Is she Irene, or I'm calling her a different name, in Save the Children? We work with her. She does a lot in child protection and also in education. But then she needs more support, even from other partners, for us to make a big impact. Examples of national coordination groups, we have the Education in Emergency Working Group, where the ministry is the chair, and Save the Children and UNICEF are co-leads. We come together, even in response to drought in education. We are working together. We have come up, we have trained county officers in education, and they have made their response plan, and we need to share. We have shared, and we are continuing to share with our partners to support those counties. So we have the Education in Emergency Working Group, chaired by the Minister of Education and co-led by UNICEF and Save the Children. But other partners here, very many, are in that group, and they are doing a great job, especially during this drought. Then we have the county steering groups, where Minister of Education is a member, and they bring the issues of education on board at county level. And at the national level, we have the National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, where Ministry of Education is a key member and a player, and it brings on board the issues or the concerns of education. So how does Save the Children complement the work of the ministry? One, they are co-lead. We chair with them the Education Emergency Working Groups, and also in education emergency activities. We work together, they support technically, and also they give financial support, they support the schools, and they support most of our programs. They also give technical support to Ministry of Education in international approaches, such as child safeguarding and child protection. You know, I said child protection is key, and also child safeguarding. Do we guard our children? How? Save the Children is spearheading that, and we work together. Co-financing humanitarian responses in education. You know, in humanitarian response, education is a cross-cutting issue, and mostly it's not considered when they are financing other sectors. Mostly education and child protection receives very little, and sometimes education we don't receive any. But we are a country. We need to put the issues of our children first. Whether we are supported or not, that one should be first. And I was thinking, the Children's Department, as the new government will come in, we need really to drum on that so that we do things differently. Gaps and challenges in humanitarian response. Sometimes we do not rely on data. It is not there. Inadequate support in terms of financial and human resourcing, it has been a challenge. Capacity gaps in disaster risk reduction. Very many people, very many of our institutions, very many of our communities have very little knowledge in disaster risk reduction, and we have a lot of work to do. So lack of prioritization of some sectors, and I've said education and child protection, where we fall because we have children who need education, who need child protection. Then education in emergencies is not prioritized, and it's not given the attention it deserves. Also, education gets late attention when it comes to maybe humanitarian response and whatever. We get less assistance, and that is all. So we have a call for action, and the role of partners in emergencies. Partners need to be on the front line in prioritizing education to complement the government. So preparedness and response is very poor in our educational institution. Disaster risk reduction is very poor. Provision of psychosocial support is very minimal. Child safeguarding and child participation is not well done. Sustainable measures on school health and nutrition, e.g. water, greening of schools, it's very minimal, especially in ASAL counties. Sustainable wash programs, they are there. Like during COVID-19, everywhere we had wash in schools. But right now, the way we've just thrown our masks, some of those things, wash stations which were there, when you go there, they are not in use in many schools. So, you know, it was not to go with COVID. It's just general for general hygiene for children in schools, in the environment they are in. So as I finish, I want to leave you with two quotes. One, children are the priority change. You know, we talk of change, change, change. We are going to change the leadership in this country, and where do the children fall? And as the people who advocate for the children, how have we packaged ourselves so that we can drum the issues of children to the next government? So children are the priority change. Change is the reality, and collaboration is the strategy. That's what we need to do. That is from Judith Billings, who came out with that. And the late Nelson Mandela said this: education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that the child of a farm workers can become the president of a great nation. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from other. That is from Nelson Mandela. So save the children as you plan to roll out or to implement your 2022-2024 strategic plan. Let us collaborate with all the stakeholders. You alone, you will not change this country. You need the government, both levels of government. We need other partners on board, and we need to drum for the issues of children in a different way and in a special way. Thank you. Something, I was given a very big role, and that big role is to welcome the next speaker, who is from the very sector that cares about the children. We are here because of the children, and the Department of Children's Services is here. So I will take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Shem Nyakuti, Secretary, Children's Services, Directorate of Children's Services. Welcome, Mr. Shem.
Honorable Yvonne Arunga, Country Director, Save the Children Kenya and Madagascar, Country Office. Honorable Alfred Igari, Ministry of Education. Helen Avisa. Honorable Veronica Kirogo, Ministry of Health. Honorable Abdullahi Sheikh from WASU. Honorable Abdullahi Abdi, Womankind Kenya, all stakeholders and partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening. I'm Jambo. Yes, just before I read my speech, I wanted to show Save the Children that we are together as a Directorate of Children's Services. Actually, it's not a Department of Children's Services. It's Directorate of Children's Services, which has got 8 departments. So we have officers that I came with. Officers, kindly, can you stand and just wave to our partners, please? Kindly. We are here. It's a big number. Just wave. Thank you very much. Yeah, it gives me great pleasure to preside over the launch of the country strategic plan 2022-24, which will inform programs and interventions by the Save the Children. Save the Children, I'm not sure whether it's to okoe watoto ama okoa watoto. I'm not sure. You can correct me later. It is important to know that Save the Children country strategic plan has 4 goals that focus on ensuring children under 5 years thrive and their well-being is improved, and that adolescents, girls and boys strengthen child-sensitive, shock-responsive social protection systems for vulnerable households and access to safe and quality education. In Kenya, children constitute approximately 53% of our total population, as per the Kenya National Bureau of Standards 2019 census report. The children form a critical slice of our population. However, from the Violence Against Children survey, popularly known as VAC 2019, and data from the Directorate of Children's Services and other reports, children face various challenges, and these include physical, emotional, sexual abuse, parental neglect, child labor, and exploitation. The other forms of violations against children are very many. You can always count them. In fact, I never knew that being beaten by my peers and being bullied in high school was violence against children. It was a so subtle thing. To safeguard these rights of all children in Kenya through effective implementation of relevant policies, coordination, and partnership for service delivery, I think that is why we are having this strategic plan. The government has enacted several legislation, as well as developed various guidelines and standards to inform interventions. And one of them, the Children's Act 2022 is in place. I'm sure you are aware of that. The Children's Act, let me quote for you. It's the Children's Act number 29 of 2022, published on 26th of July 2022. You are aware, so that you speak with authority. So child protection calls for a multi-sectorial and multidisciplinary approach to prevent and to respond to ills committed against children. Child protection workforce, which provides services to children, are drawn from various disciplines and are found in both state and non-state actors. We can work together to strengthen government systems for enhanced prevention, coordination, and support. I note with satisfaction, ladies and gentlemen, and appreciation the strides that we have made as a government in collaboration with Save the Children through various programs in the countries of Garissa, Mandera, Wajir, Turkana, Bungoma, Busia, including 2 refugee camps of Kakuma and Dadaab. The programs are in child protection, livelihood, health and nutrition, humanitarian response, and drought crisis mitigation. From 2016, the Directorate of Children's Services, with support from UNICEF, USAID, JFA, and other development partners, embarked on a journey to realize a web-based child protection information management system for collection and collation and analysis of child protection data. The system is now rolled out and is being used by DCS, that is Directorate of Children officers, and by other non-state actors and agencies in all 47 counties and also in all 290 sub-counties. I'm happy to note that as you will be implementing your strategy, that is 2022-24, we can use this data. We can use CPIMS to collect, document, and ensure children under 5 years thrive, improve their well-being, and all that you do as Save the Children. The process of reviewing the Children's Act began shortly after the enactment of the legislation in 2005. The Law Reform Commission of Kenya was very instrumental in this process. We want to thank all the agencies who participated. And as I have said, now the Act is in place. We now need to move and move with the law, move with the force. Now we have the law on our side. When we protect children, let's protect them with the law. Sio kubahatisha, one of the various challenges facing the country now is the ongoing severe drought. That has been, everybody has talked about the drought, which has increased this vulnerability. And most children are now dropping out of school. So it's important to note that the country's strategic plan will support and address some of these issues. So the Directorate, among other interventions, is strengthening child protection at community levels in affected counties. And therefore we have 250 child protection volunteers from drought-affected counties that have been trained. So we have this critical workforce that you could use if you, they are available. As I conclude, I wish to recognize and sincerely appreciate the support from Save the Children. I note with appreciation the role of Save the Children in development and rollout of VAC, that is Violence Against Children, and the response and the Prevention and Response Plan 2019-23, and also through Joining Forces Alliance. There is an alliance called Joining Forces. I take this opportunity to congratulate you. And I say, in Kiswahili we say hongera, we say congratulations in English, hongera in Kiswahili, and for ladies we say kongole. So hongera sana, congratulations. Thank you very much. Santeni sana.
We can do better than that. Can we appreciate our guests? So I'll request Mr. Shem. So we are almost there. You're almost? Tell your neighbor you're almost there. This is a very important part of this program. So we've listened to the speeches, we've listened to all the statistics and all the good words we've heard. But now we come to a point where we are going to unveil our CSP. We have a buzzer here. So I would request all of us to stand, because I think this deserves a standing ovation. Tell your neighbor to give you some space. Give you some space, you can stretch. And I would request the band also to come on board. So as our guest our chief guest is going to press this buzzer. I'm not sure what will happen when he presses that. So let's watch the screen. And as he presses this, let's cheer him on. Let's applaud and let's cheer him on. So I'm not sure that you want to say anything. All right, so we count down. Okay, let's wait maybe because of the photo. So can we count down maybe 3, 2, 1? When you get to 1 here, can you do a test? Can I hear? Let's appreciate. Let's clap and let's keep on appreciating. Let's appreciate for the moment. Okay. Thank you so much. So I want to invite, not sure whether we can stop this. All right, there we have it. We have officially launched or officially unveiled our country's strategic plan 2022-2024. And at this point, I want to welcome the guests who are here. I want to invite Yvonne. I want to invite Helen. There is Abdi. There is Abdullahi. There is Helen. You can all come here for a photo session. Can you get some drum roll? As they do that, can we appreciate, can we clap and appreciate them as they come? Let's not get tired until all of them come in front. Let's appreciate. Let's appreciate as they take photos. Feel free to also take your photos if you wish, so that you can share them. Let's appreciate the unveiling of our country's strategic plan 2022 to 2024. I can't hear the clapping. I will not stop until we've had enough. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our guests can have their seats. One more last photo. So as more photo session is ongoing, I want to request the team to have the hashtags on the screen so that we can have that. So thank you so much. As I said, we are almost there. At this point, I want to welcome right, sorry about that. Helen is going to give us our closing remarks and vote of thanks. Then after this, as I said, we do not leave. We have dinner here. Initially when we started, you walked around and said hi to someone. So the other opportunity is after this, we'll have dinner. Feel free to sit anywhere you want to sit. Let's have dinner, let's interact, let's have a good time. Band is here, I'm sure they have a long list of songs. And in case you have a dedication or you have a special song that you want them to play, you can request them to do so. So for the rest of the evening, let's just relax and enjoy ourselves because our work has already started. Our work is already cut out for us. And that, thank you so much for all the commitment that we have seen. Welcome.
Thank you, Ken. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, South Pole, down there. Okay. The facts have spoken for themselves. We've heard, and we've heard much, about the plight of children in this country. And if multisectoral approach was in a photograph, this is how multisectoral would look like. Because there's everyone from all thematic sectors and all departments present in this room. And for me, this is satisfaction that we are all here. We've heard. Our TOR is quite defined for us, as it's for all of us to take a piece of what we've heard today and run with. And as the director reminded us today, it's all about collaboration. And for us to Save the Children, if we were to really deliver for children at scale, this is the scale and the multiplier effect therein. And so my assignment is very simple this evening, is to give a vote of thanks to all of us that have shown up today. And again, because you are kind enough to respond to our invite, kindly bear with me if I'm not able to articulate your organization or your name. Just know that in advance, I thank you for showing up. But in particular, I would really love to thank our guest speakers this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Shem Nyakutu, for showing up and for really the occasion. And I also want to thank Ms. Helena Visa for not only speaking, but for reminding me that I've never quite taken the step to think about the logo. And thank you for reminding us that children are front and center in everything that we do, and that decisions for children cannot be made without them. So nothing for children without children. So thank you very much. I'd also love to really thank Mr. Abdullahi and Mr. Abdullahi for really showing up as well and coming to share your experiences from the field. And what really gives us joy by you coming through is to remind us that when we speak about shifting power within the development and humanitarian space, we are actually really doing it and delivering it. And we are grateful for the work that you're also doing and really bringing the reality around what is happening on the ground. I would also love to thank our multiple government partners from all the ministries, Ministry of Education, Directorate of Children's Services, Ministry of Agriculture, and others. Thank you very much for the continued collaboration and continued engagement. And not only collaboration, because sometimes that could be very loose, for the co-creation of solutions for children in this country. Thank you for being there with us, challenging us when you need to challenge us, but also working with us where you are needed. Also, I'm grateful for our partners, and partners are stratified. So we have our donor partners, and a recognition of our guest today, Ms. Faith from the U.S. Embassy, for gracing our occasion as well, but also thanking you for always being there to listen to our ideas, challenging our ideas, but bottom line, really being there for the children in this country. So thank you very much. I'd also love to thank our partners, implementing partners that we work with. Thank you for also gracing this event, but also for your participation. And special thanks to members of the Joining Forces Alliance Plan. Thank you very much for coming through. And I would love to also thank the departments, for instance, Department of Social Protection, whom we work with closely under our UCB work. Thank you, Kenyan National Human Rights Commission, and all other partners, civil society organizations that are present in this space this evening. And before I close this, I am looking for my chair, the chairman of the planning committee of this launch. Angelius Njiru, where are you? Please, that's the man that has made all this happen. Angelius Njiru was our chair, and thank you very much, together with the committee up at Save the Children, for really making this work and happen. Members of the Fourth Estate, thank you very much for showing up, and for the media booth down there, making it possible for all our team members, including those that are in Mandera and Garissa and in Samburu, be able to view this. So thank you very much as well. And of course for Radisson Blu for really allowing us to share this space this evening. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, because we are a team of courageous human beings that Save the Children, we have great ambitions for children in this country. And I'm reminded of a woman that I really admire, who says, if your dreams do not scare you, then they're not big enough. Our dreams scare us as Save the Children, Kenya and Madagascar. Our dreams scare us as a management team. And that fear, or the chills that we get by dreaming big for children in this country and Madagascar, then is telling us that we are truly treading the right direction. Thank you very much, and do enjoy your evening. Bye.
So thank you. As I said, we have dinner. So at this point, I don't know, Diana, how maybe you can give us a bit of direction. And if the food is ready, so I think with those closing remarks by Helen, we can now continue interacting, we continue talking and to know each other. So I'm being told food is ready, you can go and serve. So I think we can start with our guests. Let's give our guests first priority to go and serve food, and then we can follow, we can go with this table, the other table, we can follow through as we go. Karibuni. As we do that, the band take over.